Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. I'm Jody Anderson Duquette here with Workamper News, and I'm here to answer your questions about the work camping and RVing lifestyle. Now, if you're not familiar with Workamper News, we are the original entity that created the term work camping and started this industry community about 35 years ago now. So workamper.com is our online home. And many of you are maybe participating in our group or page on social media as well, Facebook, Instagram, etc. But our main goal is to help work campers understand what this lifestyle is, make a successful transition into the work camping lifestyle, know what to do, how to go about it, and just in general be successful. We want work campers to be able to live their RV travel dreams, and that's our passion and what we love to do. We are a membership organization, so we actually do work with kind of both sides of the equation. We work with the businesses that hire RVers as well as the work campers themselves. And so we're supported by both sides, like I said. We're a membership organization. We do have a yearly membership. We're not just a job listing website. We are a robust toolkit and support system. So there are lots of opportunities for looking at different types of work camper jobs in a variety of places on the internet now. But if you like to work smarter instead of harder and want to have the most variety of work camping opportunities and the best tools for connecting to those opportunities, that's what you'll find here with Workamper News. And so just a little quick slide here about what we have. We do have job finding tools. We have the most job listings that you'll see anywhere else, as well as ways to research those employers to help you determine if that opportunity is going to be right for you. And like I said, we really focus on education and community. So we have articles and online courses, videos. We do, Q&As like this one. We have a podcast and a blog and just all kinds of stuff to give you guys as much information as possible so you can have the confidence to live this awesome lifestyle. And it's not always rainbows and puppy dogs. Oftentimes, if you're just following some Instagram posts or something like that, like this RVing and van life, work camping thing can look super awesome, but there's going to be issues that come up, just like we have. No matter how we're living our life, there's always going to be stuff that comes up and hurdles and complications and things like that. So, but hopefully once you're, in our system and going through those resources, you're going to learn so much. And so if hurdles and issues do come up, then you're much more easily to sail right through them and not let them deter you and kind of ruin things for you. So anyway, just a little bit more about myself here and why I'm an okay person to be answering these questions for you guys. So I've been an RVer myself for about 12 years now. My husband and I, Luke, we're on our third RV. So we did some traveling in a Class A. It wasn't our RV, but we did some traveling in a Class A motorhome. We've had a fifth wheel, and that's what we full-timed in for a few years. Then we transitioned to a Class C RV, and now we're down to just a travel trailer, as we're very part-time RVing right now. With Workamper.com, we stay very busy, and this last year or two especially has just been crazy, so we haven't been able to travel as much. But I myself have been with Workamper News for I think it's about 15 years now or so. My parents, my mom and dad, actually purchased Workamper News from the original creators. And so my family's been operating this business since about 17 years ago now. Not that that matters to you guys, but anyway. So I've been working with both sides of the fence now for many years, done a lot of RVing myself. So it's my husband and I here at Workamper News, and then we've got a staff of 4 other gals that help us do the day-to-day operations and customer service. And yeah, it's been super awesome. And I just really enjoy connecting with you guys and getting to hear your stories. We do have a podcast. It's called The Workamper Show. It's a weekly podcast. And we started that a few years ago. There's about 187 episodes now, which is pretty awesome. But it interviews work campers as well as employers. So be sure, if you're a podcast fan, open up your app, find us in your app, The Workamper Show, and subscribe to it. But my point is that you get to hear lots of great stories from work campers that are maybe just starting out, or maybe they've been doing this for years and years. and then of course kind of get introduced to some different work camping opportunities as well. So check out the Workamper show. It's in podcast apps, or you can just go to workampershow.com. That's the website for our podcast, and listen to it there. So all right, just a little bit about some resources and things to get connected to here before we get started. Those of you who are online live with us, thanks so much for joining us in person. Appreciate that. And if you guys, we had a lot of questions submitted ahead of time, so it's probably going to take up most of the time. I'll try to talk quickly and get through those questions pretty quick. We'll probably run at least an hour or so. But if you are online live with us, you can submit your questions in if you think of anything to ask or things you want to say. I've got the chat window up here. So if you have the control panel there on your screen, if you're on a laptop or desktop that you can type into, there should be a questions or chat section. Or if you're on a smartphone or tablet, you'll have that option along the bottom of your screen. And those of you on smartphone or tablet, you can transition between my talking face or the PowerPoint just by swiping on your screen. Okay, so all right, there's some housekeeping taken care of there. Let's get into your guys' questions as there's lots of great ones today. All right, so of course, lots of folks just starting out, just researching this lifestyle. How do I go about finding a job? What's the best way to do it? How do I research employers? What if I have no experience? Oh my gosh. All right, so first I just want to premise that Workamping is doing any kind of part-time or full-time work while living in an RV. So it really encompasses a lot. Oftentimes people are introduced to Workamping because they were talking to a camp host at a campground and then think that just Workamping is working in a campground. It is that, but it's not just that. So let's open our mind as there's so many different opportunities that are out there. And it just kind of comes back to knowing yourself as well, like what type of industry or type of position that you'd like to have. So there are certainly lots of campgrounds and RV parks that hire work campers, whether it's mom and pop operations, big franchise organizations, state parks, county parks, Forest Service, rec areas. U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, day use, campgrounds, they utilize work campers very often. We actually have a special contract with the Army Corps of Engineers, and so they utilize our service quite a bit to find their volunteer and contract work campers. So that's pretty cool. So RV parks, of course, you're going to see that a lot. But again, like I said, there's a lot. So I'll just kind of throw some ideas that are coming to mind. So amusement parks, small farms or maybe bigger farms and ranches. There are the beet harvest. So there's sugar beets that are harvested in the fall time, kind of in the northern areas. And so an agency hires work campers to work at the receiving stations for the beet harvest. There are fulfillment centers, like JCPenney, Amazon, DigiKey up in Minnesota that hire work campers. There are casinos, tourist, tours, like tour companies, especially up in Alaska, but there are some others in the lower 48 as well where, they take people on kayaking tours or dog sled tours or boat tours or horseback riding tours or Jeep tours, whatever. They, need people to help run that operation, and oftentimes will hire work campers for that. There are restaurant operations, of course, lodges, hotel, motels, especially in like tourist hotspots. There are, retail operations, just stores. And again, those might be more touristy locations or not. What else? There are nonprofits like camps for kids. Oftentimes it'll have some sort of, religious, it's a Christian camp or Methodist camp or something else camp. We'll look for work campers to help their operations. Animal refuges, we have a few of them that advertise looking for work campers. If you are a, pastor, minister person, and you love to share your faith with people, there are entities that hire those kind of folks and place them in different RV resorts around the country to, have put on church sessions or ministry or, studies, different things like that. There are companies that hire work campers to walk gas lines and check stuff on the gas lines. I don't know what you're looking for, but you're doing a lot of walking and gets you to move around if you don't want a stationary job. There is a couple companies, you know, when you guys go to a campground and you check in, you get your little campground map, and there's usually like ads for local businesses and stuff on the printed map. You could be the person that goes around to the local businesses and says, hey, can we get you an ad on our campground map and blah, 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 blah. And that's a sales position. And again, that's one that helps you kind of move around a bit more. So, I mean, really, guys, it certainly varies. I could go on. There's even more industries that are covered of, you know, our employer members that hire work campers. So think outside the box. And you can also think about like what your hobbies are and what you're passionate about. And one example of that is Brad and Joy, they're work campers, and Brad is a big like astronomy person, and he actually travels with a really nice telescope in their RV. So they went to a state park, I think, doesn't matter where, and it's a dark park, which means it's like super dark at night and you can see the stars really well. So he volunteers, him and Joy both volunteer with the state park entity. So Joy works in the visitor center, just, you know, working behind a desk, answering questions, maybe putting brochures out, dusting the different displays, or making sure there's paper towels in the bathroom, things like that. But what Brad does is he, in the evenings, like at dusk, so many, you know, days or nights a week, would set up his telescope outside of the visitor center. And then the, you know, guests that were there at the state park could come and look through the telescope, and he would tell them how the telescope works and let them look at the stuff in the sky and talk about this thing that he loves. And that's his work camping job. So super cool stuff that can be done, you know, and Brad and Joy are doing that work then in trade for an RV site at the state park. So like I said, lots of cool stuff that's out there. So I just wanted to throw that out there to you guys. So hopefully you're, you know, expanding your horizons and ideas of different things that are out there. So actually going about and finding a job, again, going back and, you know, you got to do some homework initially. And we have a video on our website for our members in our media library. That's just a thing that's full of videos. It's called 12 Steps to Finding a Work Camping Job, because I literally spent an hour and a half going through very thoroughly the steps to finding a work camping job. So I would definitely recommend you guys check out that video. It's on our YouTube channel as well, if you're not a member yet. Anyway, so think about what you want to do. You're going to review kind of the job listings out there even before you're going to get started, just to get some ideas. So if you're someone who like really enjoys working with people, then a customer service job is going to be okay with you. If you're someone who's like, I never want to talk to another person again, can I just hang out with trees? Absolutely, you're going to go for jobs that are, you know, not customer service focused. If you're someone who's very handy, you might go right well into a maintenance position. If you're like, I've never held a paintbrush or a hammer in my life, we're not going to go for those maintenance positions, you know, necessarily. So know kind of what you want to do, what you don't want to do, what you're good at, things like that. And also your budget. You know, how much do you need to find a work camping job that's going to pay you wages and provide you an RV site, because you do need to have some income coming in to cover your bills, etc. Could you do maybe a middle ground where you're working so many hours in trade for the RV site, and if you get some extra hours that pay you, hey, that's cool, there's some slush money, we'll, you know, go out to eat a few more times this month, or, you know, upgrade our tow vehicle at the end of the season or whatever. Or can you just work in trade for an RV site? And that might be, you know, 10 to 20 hours a week you're spending just working in trade for that RV site and any other non-monetary perks that come with. There's also salary positions that are out there, commission-based positions like working the Christmas tree sales tents, fireworks sales tents, pumpkin sales tents. Those are going to be commission-based opportunities. So lots of variety in the compensation packages that are offered in the work camping realm. So you just need to understand kind of what your budget is, so that way you can find those opportunities that are more likely gonna provide you that compensation so you can afford to live and keep doing this thing, okay? So make sure you're working that out. All right, and then once you kind of have an idea of what you guys are going to go for, let me switch over to my internet browser, and I can show you guys a little more specifically. All right, sorry guys, there we go. Okay, so Workamper.com, like I said, is our online home. You guys are welcome to join at any time. If you are years away from work camping, I would go ahead and we have a free 30-day trial of our diamond level membership. But if you are years away, you might turn that auto renew setting off and just let the diamond membership lapse back to our intro level once the 30 days is up. You're still going to have delayed access to job listings that way. So you'll still be able to see kind of what different opportunities are coming through, but then, there won't be any membership cost or whatever. But if you are like a year away or less from wanting to start that work camping opportunity, you definitely want to have that diamond level membership so you have immediate access to the job listings. You can use the resume builder, you can review employers. We definitely want to start being proactive, especially if you're like 3 to 6 months from wanting to start that job. You need to be contacting employers and making those connections now. You can do it even earlier if you want to. There are some employers that hire even a year out. So, you can start sooner than that, but you may not get a lot of response from employers, like, the follow-up, if it is kind of a year or more away. So just kind of keep that in mind. But once you join Workamper.com, right now we're logged in as a platinum level member. Our platinum membership is really more for folks who have 1 or more work camping jobs under their belt, because we're going to verify the job history that you add to your resume. So if you don't have any work camping job history yet, we don't need to worry about that. So our diamond level membership is $47 a year. That's, one night out to eat, covers your membership for a year. Just, snack at home instead, and you got that covered. So we're logged in here, and this page is called our dashboard. It's the jumping off point to the main tools and resources that's provided to our members. So right now, our hotline system and our online magazine are the 2 main avenues for reviewing job listings. We have some other pages: featured employers, volunteer opportunities. We do jobinars, which are webinars like this, where we get online with an employer and they give a presentation about their jobs and then answer questions of those who are online live with us. So we have some of those recorded in our media library and on our YouTube channel. So that's super cool. So lots of different ways to get connected to these employers, you guys. Also, I want to point out, we do have a resume builder tool. Well, all right. First things first, let me give you just a quick look. Here's our hotline jobs page. This has the job listings that have come in the last 14 days. So on our website, for sure these are super current ads. They're not from a month ago, a year ago, or multiple years ago. These are current, active Workamper job listings. And we have 10 different ways that you can search these job listings. So you can input what states you want to look at. If you want an RV site, you can, check that. If you need all hours paid, you can check that. If you're looking just to work and trade for an RV site, because maybe you don't want to have any W-2 wages reported, or you don't want to do a 1099, independent contractor situation, you just want to work and trade for an RV site, then we can do no monetary compensation. If you know when you want to be starting that job, so you can look for jobs specifically that start in September or start in October, or if you're ready to get started right away, you can search for jobs that start immediately. This one's super awesome. Those of you who are solo work campers, you can check this box to see the job listings from employers that will consider solos, which we'll get to later. Sorry, I'll talk more about that later. Okay, so lots of different ways to search and sort the job listings. You're not going to find any other avenue to be able to narrow down work camping jobs so specifically than what we provide here on our hotline page. And you'll see that every ad has that kind of information submitted with it. Again, you won't find that anywhere else. Our ads are the best organized with the most information, and it's going to leave you with a few less questions. We also have, if the employer has had Workampers that have worked there before, and those Workampers have shared about their experience, you're going to have links to that right with the ad. So like with this ad we're looking at here, we could click the link to view Workamper experiences postings, and those are just written reviews of Workampers that have worked there in the past, sharing what their experience is. And then praise your employer is another avenue where a Workamper can say, I worked here and it was a good experience. And when you take a look at that, you might be able to see the email address of the Workamper that submitted that star award. And you can then email that Workamper and say, hey, I see that you worked for XYZ place in Arizona. Can you please tell me more about your experience? Can we have a phone call? Something like that. So easy connection for you to connect with Workampers that have been there, done that. So that's just an easier way to start on your due diligence of researching that employer to find out a little bit more if you want to contact them and see if they're a better fit. So we have new job listings coming in each weekday. Right now is a little bit of a quieter time. Things are really going to pick up, you know, in a couple months, and we'll really start seeing the ads coming in. So we also send out a daily email. So all of these job listings that we post to our hotline page, we compile and send out in an evening email to our members. So Diamond and Platinum members, each weekday, you're going to have all the day's new job listings coming through to you. And it's the full ad text. It's not truncated. You're not like, oh, you don't have to click to a website to go look at it, etc. That's going to come right to your inbox. And those of you with a gold level membership or our free intro account status, you guys can get the daily hotline jobs email as well. The ads are just going to be from 7 or 14 days ago. All right, so the hotline is one main avenue. Our magazine is the other. That's how Workamper News got started. It was a mailed publication because we started before the internet existed. So bi-monthly, we compile job listings as well as some articles and other great information, print it all out. We do physically mail it to the members that want to receive it, but we do place them online. So this online magazine archive has over 90 issues in here. Each issue contains job listings organized by state. So this archive right here alone is the largest archive of job listings that you'll find anywhere. And we recommend looking back at past ads as well, past issues. Even if the employer isn't actively advertising right now, they may still utilize Workampers in their operation. And so, you know, maybe something just came up, they do have a hole, or they will consider you and put you on a list for a future season, etc. So I definitely recommend looking back through past issues and making contact with employers that are offering something that sounds appealing to you. Now, getting to our resume builder here, if you guys haven't done a resume in maybe like 20 or 30 years or ever, it's kind of like, holy crap, how do I do that? Just use our resume builder. It's going to take you step by step through compiling the information that employers want to see and know about you. And we make it super easy. You can put in, you know, past history, whether it is your career or work camping jobs. In the sell yourself section is where you can, you know, put in the good stuff about yourself. Over here on the right, we do have a sample that you're welcome to look at and model off of. Again, just trying to make it even easier for you guys. If you want to, you can include photos, and if you have a video on YouTube, you can put the link to that video in there. But so super easy. Once you create your resume in the system, you can print it out if you want to. You can email it to anybody. You can export it to a PDF file if you're doing like an online application process. So super easy way to put your information in and compile it into a nice format for employers to see. Also, once you fill out your resume, you're welcome to have it available in our database that our employer members look at. And keep in mind, our resume database is only available to our paid employer members. So it's not open to the internet. No one can go in and look at your resume data just because they're on the internet snooping around. So I would caution you from, you know, like I said, there are other avenues online that have resumes or whatever, but those are open to the internet. Any, you know, scammer, hacker, bot, whatever can see that and pull that data. So please be really careful about sharing, you know, your contact information, location, details about yourself on free open internet platforms, because you just don't know who's lurking there. There are certainly scammers hanging around trying to take advantage of Workampers. I say that because they've tried to infiltrate our system as well. But we review every new employer account that's created to see that it's a legitimate business, and we also review every ad that comes into the system. So if something doesn't look right or doesn't feel right, we've stopped a few scammers in their tracks. So on the free services out there that don't have people reviewing the ads and checking and watching things, they're out there. So just be cautious. So with our resume tool, you can have your resume available to our employer members if you like. And there are many employer members that never advertise their jobs. They're not going to use the hotline or the magazine or other online stuff. They just go into our resume database and do some searches, and that's how they find all of their Workampers. So I recommend to everyone to be proactive and review the job listings, but also make sure you have your resume available in the database and update it often. The more often you update your resume, the more frequently you're going to show up in the top of employer search results. So, okay. All right, sorry, I gotta slow down. I could talk about this stuff all day. There's so much for you guys to utilize and dig into, but we're already quite a few minutes in here and just hitting on our first question. So I'm gonna try to reel it in a little bit. All right, so you're gonna get connected with these employers. You're gonna reach out to them, go through their application process, the interview process, etc. We recommend that you guys ask thorough questions, which we'll get to coming up here. Okay, so I won't go into it further as we're going to get to a few more steps of the process in some of the questions that you guys answered. So, all right, let's bounce back then over to our PowerPoint, and we'll kind of keep trucking along here. But we definitely want you guys to, well, that's not working. Okay. 1 second, guys. Let me just try to refresh this. It's not liking my PowerPoint for some reason. There we go. Okay, now we're going. Okay. What if I already have a PDF of my resume is a question that just came in. Am I able to use that? Yeah. You guys, you don't have to be a member of workamper.com. You don't have to utilize our resume builder in order to find a Workamping job. We just make it way, way easier for folks. If you do have a version of your resume that you've already created yourself, cool, then that's what you can send to employers, no problemo. You just won't be able to be found in our resume database by employers who are searching for Workampers. You have to utilize our resume builder tool to have that connection. Alrighty, what if I have no experience? So as you guys maybe figured out earlier, a lot of these positions aren't, they aren't rocket science. You don't need to have degrees in certain things and stuff to be able to do a lot of these jobs. So most employers are not going to anticipate that you guys have experience exactly in the, duties that the jobs entail. Most of the time employers are happy to train you, and it's also going to vary. If you work at one RV park and do X, Y, and Z, doing X, Y, and Z at another RV park won't be exactly the same. Different operations will have different ways they want you to do things. But just think about what you guys have done in your career life, in your home life, your personal life, and what skills and experiences you have from that. You may have, customer service skills, computer skills, or technical skills that you've gotten from a career position that could apply to the different types of jobs that you'd be willing to apply to. Also, maybe you've participated in like church programs, maybe you were a coach of your kids' sports teams, or a troop leader, Boy Scouts, something like that. That gave you organization skills, management skills, leadership skills, things like that. So you've likely done stuff, in your personal life. Did you have a house? Did you, do the yard work? Did you do, maintenance stuff? A little bit of light plumbing and electrical here and there. So you likely have experience that can apply to these positions. And, you can get your feet wet. You could maybe find a park or entity close to you that hires Workampers. And even before, embarking on the open road, you could do a volunteer position or something locally just to kind of get your feet wet and have one experience then to list on your resume. So definitely some options out there. Don't be concerned when you're brand new and just starting out. Currently, there are more work camping opportunities than there are Workampers taking those jobs. So it's a Workampers market right now, I guess, is what you could call it. All right, let's move on here. Okay, how to secure a job during the winter months in a warm climate. When should I start applying? So as you guys maybe have heard, there are a lot of snowbirds, which are folks who maybe are up in the northern part of the country in the summer, and then they head south in the winter to avoid that cold weather, snow, blustery winds, etc. So since a lot of the work camping jobs are in the outdoor hospitality industry, there are less opportunities in kind of the fall, winter months, especially in that, umbrella industry. So there are less jobs available, especially if you are looking for a all hours paid plus RV site, other perks, etc. type of job. That will be more challenging, especially in the RV park campground realm, as you could say. So there are a lot more trade out opportunities in the winter months in the South. So there is a little more of a competition, I guess you could say, for those primo jobs in the South in the winter months. So when should you start applying? The same thing kind of still goes as what I said before. I would say 6 months before you want to start that job. I would be certainly looking through the current job listings, but that's also the opportunity. I would go back through our magazine issues that come out in the summer months. Those are more frequently going to have the fall winter jobs in them. So I would look back through those issues and go back a few years even to look for opportunities in those issues to contact. Like I said, there are a lot of employers. Many employers are with us for 5, 10, 15, even over 20 years. And so even if they're not actively advertising, it is likely that they still have a work camper program. So I wouldn't hesitate to reach out to them. And you may even need to, some work campers are finding that they will go find, they'll just find a long-term RV site in the area they want to be in, and then just find a position in the local community. We're still kind of seeing some of those crazy effects from the pandemic where there's lots of businesses just still needing help and not finding enough help. So that's another option as well, guys, is just, go find that RV site somewhere and then, start applying in the local community to find a position that will pay you wages usually. Oh, and I just wanted to comment on this photo because you guys are looking at this photo and you're like, what the heck? So this is a picture from a work camping job. There's a company in Knoxville, Tennessee. They hire work campers to put up Christmas lights about October, November, and then after the holidays are over, take them down. And you can either work pre-season or post-season or both. And that's a work camping job. So very interesting, kind of super cool. Maybe, a little bit more of a physical job, but just something really interesting that work campers can do. Okay, this person who registered says, I am over 70 years old. Is this too old to be hired? Absolutely not. There is no age limitation to work camping. The only exception would be some employers won't hire you until you're maybe 14, 16, 18, depending upon the business entity. So there might be a too young, but there's not a too old. Age is just the number. If you are totally with it up here and physically capable of doing the work camping position that you're applying to or wanting to acquire, go for it. One of my favorite work campers, her name is Barbara. She was a psychologist, psychotherapist, I forget the exact term, but brain doctor. Anyway, at 72, she got herself a truck and an Airstream trailer and hit the road full time with her 2 cats at 72. And that was easily, she's over 80 now, and I still get emails from her, oh, this summer I'm gonna try somewhere different and I'm gonna go to da 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 da. And she's done a bunch of different work camping jobs. Some of them she liked and some of them she didn't like so much. And she's just having a great old time, over 80 as a solo. And she's awesome. So it's attitude, it's capability. Absolutely. If this is your dream and this is what you want to do, go for it. Again, just make sure you are communicating with that employer to fully understand the opportunity, to know if it's something you want to do and are capable of doing, and have fun. All right. Are there jobs for solo work campers? Yes, 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 absolutely. I think in some other, kind of online resources that are out there, it's very heavily just RV parks that are using those avenues to advertise their work camping jobs. And so if you're looking at other resources, I think sometimes solos can feel like, oh, everybody just wants couples, no one wants solos, there's no jobs for me. If you go to our hotline jobs page, it was yesterday that I checked it, 80% of the work camper employers that we're advertising consider solos. So it's really not that many positions that solos are excluded from. So there are totally tons of opportunities for you guys out there. There are some things like gate guarding is an example. So that's where these companies set up on-site security at these like oil field location places. It's mostly like Texas, New Mexico, Louisiana areas. And so your on-site security. So some of those gates are 24/7 gates. So they need 2 of you there in the RV because someone needs to be on site all the time, 24 hours a day. Okay, so there are some things like that where it's going to be 2 people. But some of those gate guarding companies have different types of gates that are maybe just a 12-hour or something like that. And so, solos could be considered for some of them. But like commercial RV parks and campgrounds, they make their money from selling their RV sites, nightly, weekly, monthly, whatever. So like business-wise, it makes more sense to get 2 workers out of 1 RV site, because then they're only giving up 1 RV site out of their rental pool, for 2 workers. So, I mean, that's kind of the bottom line as to why some of those places say we want couples. But again, it's not the majority that are going to be that way, especially if you're looking outside of kind of the commercial RV park realm. There's going to be more flexibility there. But if you do read an ad and you're like, oh my gosh, this employer is offering exactly what I want, except they got that darn little word at the top that says seeking couples for. But you're a solo, but everything else is like, yes, yes, checking my boxes. Contact them anyway. You never know. It could be maybe they have 2 solos at one time. Contact them, and maybe they have really big RV sites and you guys could buddy site or something. I don't know. Like I said, there are a lot more positions open than there are work campers seeking them right now. So you may, work camper or employers might be a little more flexible on things right now just because they need the help. So if it's a position, especially that's like, we need someone to start right away or next month right away, then, again, the desperation may come into play and you might be able to push them towards hiring a solo more so than if it's a job that's starting, a year from now and they got time to do their hiring, etc. So I would just make sure you have a really good resume put together. Even though our resume builder tool does make it easy, I've definitely seen some resumes in the system that needed some help. So, put together your resume, then send it to a few of your friends or family members and just be like, hey, would you guys mind taking a look at this and see if you see anything that looks funny, or if I could do anything maybe better or differently, or if it reads weird, do I have a lot of typos, check it for typos, etc. So I would just make sure, sorry, this is answering the how can I convince an employer to consider me as a solo question. Just make sure you're making a good first impression. So let's make sure we have a good looking resume, clear information, be clear on your skills and capabilities. You especially want to highlight that. You could offer to work the same number of hours that a couple normally would work. So then, you're covering all those hours in the schedule, as long as that, works for you and what you're capable of and wanting to do. And just be persistent. So, send the resume, wait a little bit, follow up to make sure they got your resume or whatever your first inquiry was. Be sure to follow the instructions. If you are responding to a help wanted ad and the employer, says in the ad, please send resume to blah, or go online to da 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 da, make sure to follow whatever the instructions are in the ad. Some employers won't communicate with Workampers that don't follow what they said to do. If they don't list a phone number, maybe don't call, which is kind of frustrating, but so especially if you're communicating via email, you definitely want to follow up within a few days with another email just to make sure they got that first email. And because email is not always reliable. Sometimes stuff ends up in spam, etc. So you just want to make a good first impression. So be proactive in following up with them. Express your interest and excitement in their opportunities. Don't oversell yourself, but let them know that the skill set you have, or the attitude that you have, is really going to be of benefit to them, and you want to become a part of their team. And so yeah, an attitude will get you a long ways, a positive attitude for sure. Okay, are there work camping opportunities with the dog? So sure, absolutely. So there are more RVers that travel with pets than don't. So you certainly, are not strange if you've got multiple animals coming along for the ride with you. So we can kind of look at this question two ways. So most employers will have no problem with you having pets with you in your RV. You'll be able to, take breaks to go, because most often your RV site is going to be at the location that you're working at. Not always. Some employers don't provide RV sites, or maybe the RV sites are located at a different location and you'll have to maybe be driving from the RV to the work site or something like that. So, you want to understand where your RV site is in, conjunction to the work site. But you'll, just like with if you had a normal 9 to 5, you make sure you let the dog out in the morning, and if someone needs to walk them during the day, you find a dog walker to walk them during the day, or you run back at your lunch break and take your, whatever, you work it out. And the other way to answer this question is, are there work camping opportunities where I can bring my dog with me to my work site? That's probably going to be a little more limited. But there probably are a few, especially if you have your dog registered as like a service dog or whatever, and you have that documentation. There are employers that will make accommodations for that. There are also work camping opportunities that revolve around your dog. And an example that I can remember of that is this couple were dog trainers. Like, they trained dogs to be like awesome and stuff. And so they had a couple dogs with them as they traveled around that were their personal dogs. So they were at this RV park, and this RV park has like a little lake, and the geese like to hang out on the lake, and the geese would be all around the lake and just pooping everywhere. And this, bothered the campers because they were having to walk around goose poop all the time and stuff. And so the RV park owners actually hired the dog of this trained dog of these Workamper dog trainers. And so I don't know how often, but the Workampers would let their trained dog out because it was trained to like herd animals. And so the dog would go out and herd the geese and keep the geese on one side of the lake. So the poop wasn't all spread out. It was all just on the one side of the lake. And in trade for the dog doing this service, the Workampers got an RV site at this RV park. So like, you just never know, you guys. You just never know what kind of opportunities are out there. It's pretty awesome. Just be upfront with employers. You can include it on your resume, or include it when you're communicating back and forth with the employer before accepting a job. Like, hey, I have, this many animals, this kind of animals, etc. I'm going to need certain accommodations for those animals. If you have, have that. So just be upfront. Some locations, so like maybe more like, RV parks, or places where guests are coming and going, where you're living amongst the guests. Those types of business operations may have limitations as to the number of pets. And if it's dogs, there may be breed restrictions. And oftentimes that's due to like the insurance that the business has. So it may not be in the owner's control. It might be, based on whatever their insurance policy says. So you definitely want to express the furry or scaly or feathered friends that are traveling with you, just to make sure there's going to be no surprises, no complications, etc. All right, next up. Are there any jobs that are less physical? Absolutely, yeah. So again, it's just coming back to understanding, what you're comfortable with, what you're capable of, etc. If you're not someone who can stand on their feet for multiple hours at a time, lift heavy things, etc., no worries. There are definitely opportunities that are, more so like desk jobs, etc., that are going to be less physical. So working in visitor centers, working in a campground office, especially if it's a smaller campground, maybe not a big one, but even some big campgrounds, they'll have like multiple people working in the office at the same time. If you're the only person that's working in an office at one time, you may need to be getting up and down to help guests do things in the office, buying stuff, etc. Let's see what else. Oh, one that always comes to mind in this kind of realm, Jackson Hewitt Tax Service. Somebody over there in the franchise got wind of who Workampers are, and we now have at least 30 some Jackson Hewitt franchises that are employer members seeking to hire Workampers. So that position is going to be purely, customer service over the phone, interaction, etc. You're not lifting or moving anything except your brain and your mouth. So definitely, there are positions that are less physical. So even if you're not, someone that's going to be running races, no worries. You can find something that'll be great for you to do. All right, next questions here. I kind of grouped these ones together as they're all kind of in the same theme. Can I work camp in a van? What kind of RV do I need? So the short answer to that question, yes, you can work camp in a van. What kind of RV do I need? You need the RV that best suits you. So that means you should find an RV that meets your budget, that you can physically handle, and one that you like. You like the layout, you like the fixtures, the furnishes, the features, etc., etc., etc. So don't get an RV based on a work camping job or work camping situation. Get the RV that's going to be best for you no matter what you're doing with it. And if that's a van, great. There are, some limitations or hurdles that you can come upon depending upon your RV type. So positions working in some campgrounds, especially like older campgrounds and stuff, there are some places where the RV site can only accommodate a certain length of RV. Oftentimes, it's going to vary, guys. Like you can't, oh, can I get away with a 40-footer, maybe 37, 35, 32? It's going to vary, the limitation. So there's really not a good set number to say, try to get it under blah, blah, blah in length. You're going to be able to find an RV site, but there's so many opportunities that are out there. It's like, okay, I want to take this job. Oh, you can't accommodate my RV? Okay, no worries. I'm going to go and check out this place then. You want to, all right, sorry, I lost my train of thought, guys. It happens. All right, too many thoughts in my brain at one time. Okay. Oh, I remember. Okay, so another example. National park campgrounds. Oftentimes, like as a tourist, you want to go camp in Yellowstone or whatever. The normal camping areas provided by the National Park Service may have a limitation, be like your RV has to be less than 30 feet and there's no hookups. So you're like, ugh, as a camper, doable, but okay. But if you go to work for Delaware North that operates Yellowstone General Stores, or Xanterra or Aramark or one of the other concessionaires that operate within the national park, These entities often lease RV sites from the National Park Service, and these RV sites are usually within the park, but in another area. And these sites will often have full hookups and can accommodate larger RVs like 40 or 42 footers. So as a work camper, you might be able to get this primo RV site inside a national park that no camping guest is ever going to find. And when you're working for them, you're going to get paid for every hour worked. And then usually there's a fee for the RV site that you're occupying, but that's because the concessionaire is leasing it from the National Park Service. So they're just passing on a little bit of the cost to you. But it's going to be like 30 to 70 bucks a week, probably. And as a normal camper, if you find a full hookup site outside of Yellowstone, again, it's going to be in a bordering community, not within the park, and it's going to be anywhere from $50 to $100 and some dollars a night. So it's a pretty sweet deal, honestly. So that's pretty cool. So again, if you want to be like, oh, I want to camp in national parks, be a work camper in national parks, concessionaires can often offer you bigger RV sites than, you know, the National Park Service itself. So that's just another thing to say. If you want a bigger RV, get a bigger RV. Okay, let's see. What else can we talk about? Oh, kind of not alternative, but I mean, there's so many people now with like schoolies and box trucks that have been converted to RVs and just lots of cool stuff that people are doing. Or maybe you're just running around in like a truck and, you know, you've utilized the truck bed kind of as your living space, or you attach a tent to it. That's super cool. With those kinds of RVs, you will find some hurdles, especially if you're wanting to be in like commercial RV parks, even state parks, etc. Because again, you're among the normal camping guests, and so there might be, you know, those individual parks may have guidelines against certain types of RVs just because you'll be on display to the guests. Some RV parks are like motorhome only RV parks, so if you have a trailer, they're not going to let you come in. Some may have some age restrictions. You know, you may have seen, no RVs over 10 years old, but typically they just say that because they're trying to keep out, you know, the folks who have a 1980s RV and never kept it up. But there are so many rigs that are 10 years and older that look nicer than new ones. So oftentimes you just need to be like, hey, my RV is a 1990, 2000, whatever. Let me send you some photos, and they might be like, oh yeah, you're fine, it's cool, don't worry about it. So there might be, you know, some age hurdles to combat. Also, some employers won't hire you if you aren't in like a hard-sided unit with, you know, shower, kitchen, bathroom, etc., because they don't have the facilities to support you. Employers want to make sure that you are safe no matter what the weather is. If it gets cold, hot, raining, snowing, whatever, they want you to be safe. Wild animals coming around, you know, they want you to be safe from all those kind of scenarios. So they may, you know, have some restrictions in wanting you to have a hard-sided RV. And they may not have, you know, a shower house, bath house facility for you to utilize to manage that aspect of being human. Some places may have, you know, a kitchen facility for the work campers to use, but a lot of them won't. So they want to make sure, you know, you can eat and live comfortably and sustain yourself as a human. And so they may have some restrictions on things because of that. So just something else to keep in mind. But again, this is just, you know, make sure you're sharing who you are, what you have with that employer to ensure there's no surprises. They don't go, oh, we don't allow that, or oh, you can't have that. You don't want to find that out once you've traveled the hundreds of miles to the job. So we need to find that out ahead of time, which leads us to the next question. What question should I ask a prospective employer? That was a really good segue, right? I didn't even plan that, guys. It just worked out. Okay, so we have multiple resources for this. I was going to show you guys in the browser, so let's pop over to that again real quick. Okay, so we're back to workamper.com, and I can't find my mouse. Here we go. Okay, so from the dashboard, we're going to check out the article index in the media library. So here in the article index, We have multiple categories. We're going to pop into the job finding tools category, and you're going to want to look at questions to ask an employer number 2. And of course, there's questions to ask an employer. Technically, that's number 1. We're going to look at low overhead or I should have asked these questions before finding a job. And you're also going to want to read through doing the math on a Workamping opportunity. And this article, especially, it has a handout included. So this is, all right, when an employer is providing you guys an RV site and non-monetary perks, you need to figure out what the value of that is. So that way you understand, this part, whether it's all of the compensation or part of the compensation, that needs to be factored into, doing the math to figuring out, what my hourly wage is basically going to equate to. So read through this, and then down here at the bottom, we have a link to a worksheet that you guys are welcome to utilize to annotate, the different values of things that the employer is giving to you, and then more easily do the math again to find out what that hourly wage is going to equate to. There are lots of varying compensation in the Workamping world. I've seen, trade outs that worked out to be even as low as like $5 an hour, but the job was working in an office where you're more often sitting there reading your book than you are actually doing any work, all the way up to positions that are paying $20 to $30 an hour. So big range in the Workamping realm. So you're going to want to do the math. So thus some of the questions then that you're going to be asking that employer, what is my compensation going to be when you say RV site with hookups? What does that mean to you? Is that water, electric, and sewer? Is the sewer connection right there at my RV site? Is it going to be a honey wagon coming in once a week to pump out my tanks? Is it I'm going to have to drive to the dump station on the property to dump my tanks? Like, what does that mean? Is the electric provided, or am I going to need to pay part of the cost of electric? So lots of questions just about the RV site as well to inquire about. All right, so also here is our media library. So this is our video library that we have at workamper.com for our members. Once you're logged in as a Diamond or Platinum member, you'll have access to this. So we're going to scroll on down. We've done a lot of videos over the years, guys. We're going to go to the Workamper training section here. So here's that 12 steps video that I told you guys about that you should watch. So as far as preparing for your interview, you're going to watch Making a First Impression as a Workamper, and then also watch All About Work Agreements over here on the right. And then you can also check out Interviewing for Workamper Jobs. So those are 3 videos to watch to help prepare you for this aspect of the job finding realm. Now, the All About Work Agreements. So a work agreement's not like a contract per se, but we recommend that you guys communicate as part of the process before, accepting the job. Have that employer send you a work agreement that lays out the details, start and end dates, the position or positions that you're going to be doing and the duties involved with that. If you guys discussed, certain specifics for you, like you're guaranteed to have Wednesdays off, or you asked, hey, I'm going to need 2 weeks off to go somewhere else to do this other thing, and some specifics like that laid out in that work agreement. And then you sign it, and then the employer signs it. So you have, this communication tool, basically. It's putting you and the employer on the same page. So if when you go to that opportunity and things are not going as planned, that's a tool you can use when you start communication with that employer to try to get things back on that same page that you guys had agreed to, okay? This video that talks about work agreements will help give you guys ideas of things that you should be asking that employer in the interview process. Hopefully that employer is going to give you a decent chunk of time for you to, ask all of your questions, or maybe they would want to have you email some of the questions or something like that. Some of the communication may take place back and forth via email, but hopefully you're able to do a phone call. So that way, you're hearing their voice and personality, they're hearing your voice and personality. What would be even better is doing like a Skype, FaceTime, Zoom webinar, whatever kind of call where you're face-to-face over the internet, especially if the person you are interviewing with is going to be like your manager, supervisor, owner, person that you're working directly with. If the person that you're interviewing with is not going to be your manager, supervisor, or whatever, it's not out of line for you to be like, hey, would it be okay if I connected with whoever's going to be our manager, supervisor, whatever, and maybe just have a quick phone call with them, just to get to know them a little bit and make sure our personalities mesh. I would definitely ask for that, especially if this is an opportunity where you're driving hundreds, if not 1,000 miles to go to that job. You want to know as much about that opportunity ahead of time as possible, okay? So don't be afraid to ask questions. Also, yeah, I hate for you guys to encounter surprises, but stuff's gonna happen. There are employers that don't do what they say they're gonna do, and there's work campers that don't do what they say they're gonna do. So please don't be the work camper that accepts the job and doesn't show up. If you accept a job, please do your best to fulfill that commitment to the best of your ability. Obviously, stuff happens, emergencies, somebody gets sick, RV dies, whatever that's going to come up that certainly need to be attended to, but don't just accept a bunch of jobs, pick your favorite, and screw the other employers that you said you would come work for. Also, oh shoot, it was there and then I lost it. All right, it'll come back to me, guys, don't worry. Okay, so yeah, so please do your best to fulfill your commitments, get as much information as you can ahead of time, read Workamper reviews on an employer, go on Google, Yelp, whatever, platforms are out there for reviews, Facebook even, read customer reviews, look at their website, try to get a feel for them of their website, etc. Just do your research, okay? All right. Next question up here. Employers often say there's time to explore the area, like in their ads or communications to work campers. Do you find that to be true, or is it a statement used to get people to work there? It's going to vary. I mean, obviously, if the position is maybe working, 10 to 15 hours, even 20 hours a week, that's not that many hours in a week. You are going to have a lot of extra time to, see the area. If it's a 40-hour-a-week position, there are a lot of full-time positions out there. That's going to limit your time a little bit. One thing that you should include, back to kind of what questions should I ask? If you are working, and this is probably going to come more so into play if it is an RV park type entity, if the employer will be expecting you to like answer the phone after office hours or deal with late check-ins, or is it a park where they're going to put a camp host sign in your site so all the camping guests know that you're the camp host, and you may get knocks on the door at any time of the day or night, and you're supposed to assist that guest no matter what. So those are some things that could be encountered that would hinder you from having the time off to explore the area. So those are some questions to ask if you are working, if working at your RV site is the work location kind of thing. Back to the gate guarding idea, those 24-hour gates where someone needs to be there all the time because you never know when people are going to come to that oil field gate. That's going to be an opportunity where you and your spouse aren't going to be able to go off and tour whatever's. And I mean, most of these are kind of in remote areas of Texas, so I don't know what you would see out there anyway, but that type of position is going to be a little more limiting, etc. So are there a few people and few employers, saying that to lure you? Sure. But most often in time, it's true. Even if the position is 40 hours a week, that still gives you time off to see the area, because you're still likely only going to be working for maybe 5 days a week. So hopefully you still have 2 days off to explore and see some stuff. And some are campaign jobs, especially kind of more back in the volunteer realm, where you're just working so many hours in trade for an RV site. Some of those opportunities are you work like 3 days on and then you have 3 days off, 3 days on, 3 days off. So you always have 3 days off in a row. Sometimes it's you work a week, you have a week off. You work a week, you have a whole week off. That gives you a whole lot of time, you know, even to go do day trips, you know, go somewhere 5 hours away and spend a week and then come back to the work site, etc. So there's definitely different configurations that are out there, guys. It's just going to take a little bit of work to find those ones that are going to work best for you. All right, moving into our kind of RV lifestyle questions here. How can I find qualified RV repair people or services? And yeah, that's a tough one. So as far as finding maybe like mobile RV repair, etc., I would go on to, sorry guys, I should have looked this up before we started. So there's the National RV Training Academy, which is in Athens, Texas, and that entity trains people to become RV technicians. There's another one, I think, in Indiana, but it's not very organized. Once that person becomes, and hey guys, this is also a small business opportunity that you could do as an RVer and make quite a bit of money. So you go to the National RV Training Academy, nrvta.com, and you take their classes to become a certified RV technician. Then you can go on to become a mobile RV tech and do work wherever you are, or you can go to work for an RV dealership, RV sales place, whatever. So that's a work camping opportunity that's out there. But they certify folks to be technicians. And I believe, let me just pull up my browser real quick so I can find the website for you guys. I thought I would remember with my brain, but we've just talked about so much today that I've kind of lost track. I forget if it's org or .com. Sorry, y'all. They also train and certify RV inspectors. So if you are someone, if you're going to be buying an RV in the near future, I would definitely recommend getting your RV inspected. My husband and I have done that. Definitely gives you some peace of mind. Okay, the website is rvservicegroup.com. And when you go to that website, why don't I just show you? Duh. Sorry, guys. Okay. Back to our browser. Okay. rvservicegroup.com. Here we are. Welcome to the RV Service Group. Looking for an RV inspector, looking for a technician. So there's the website, RV Technician Association of America.org, rvtaa.org. So you can visit that website and they have like a locator tool with like a map on it and stuff. So that's one way to find a certified RV technician kind of in your vicinity. There's also a Facebook group that I'm a part of. I think it's like RV repair companies in the US. So I'm just in this Facebook group. And so if I had trouble somewhere, I could go in and search the group or post in the group asking for help. So those are the avenues that I'm aware of for connecting with RV repair service, because it can definitely be a challenge finding someone who's good and available. And you can also, you know, always ask folks in your general area, like if you are at a campground or RV park, you know, locals who are in the area likely have gotten connected to RV repair or needed that service themselves. So they'll have personal experience. Like we know the guy in town here who does mobile RV repair, and he's real nice. So if somebody asked me, that's who I would direct them to. So just connecting, even if you're just at a restaurant eating or going to get a coffee or stopping in at the grocery store, lots of people have RVs now and they all have had service at one point or another. So definitely ask folks in your local area. Okay, technical question here. This person would like to learn about the tax benefits of operating a small business on the road. Do RV travel and site expenses impact business expenses? So, all right, the first part that I gotta say about this question is I am not an accountant or an attorney, so I can't super say specifically all of the more specific answers to this question. And everybody's situation is different based on income and business and all that kind of stuff. So you really need to find an accountant to work with to help you with this. I would definitely recommend that. If you are a full-time RVer and you don't have another physical residence, the RV then is your primary residence. Becomes a little bit harder then to write off as many of the expenses as a part-time RVer with a home base using their RV as a business vehicle would have, okay? So full-time RVing, maybe a little bit less opportunity there, but definitely still opportunity. We are connected with, I'm gonna pull up my browser again, guys. So many resources out there. It's pretty awesome. Okay. Mark Kohler is a tax accountant and attorney and super, super smart. This is not, okay, this is not going where I thought. I was just on his website yesterday. Let me get to it here. Okay, there we go. That's better. This is Mark. Anyway, he has come to our Rendezvous event before, which Rendezvous is like a conference that we do here in Arkansas. We did it for 10 years before the pandemic, then the pandemic kind of killed it. We're hopefully going to do it next year. Anyway, so Mark understands our viewers quite well because we've kind of indoctrinated him into the community. And so he has he does a lot of videos. He does like videos on his YouTube and his Facebook and stuff. So if you're interested in operating a business at all, or just even having like rental properties or better managing your assets and getting your will and trust set up and all that kind of fun stuff, he's a really, his entities are really great to work with. He's expanded a lot over the years, so working directly with Mark is probably not as likely, but he's hired a lot of great people that work with him. But he would be someone like in his store, he has this, and I bought this myself and have gone through it. Where is it? It's a tax and legal library. All right. I just saw it yesterday. I'm sorry, you guys. I prepared for this and then the internet is totally like dropping me here and not helping me out. Okay, I'll find it. I'll put the link below for the recording. I'll find it. But anyway, he has videos in his tax and legal library that are specific to RV owners. That's why I'm saying that. So I went back and watched the video that I have access to yesterday, so it would kind of familiarize me with some things to help answer this question. But you do want to have a business entity, you know, whether it's a sole proprietorship, LLC, S Corp, whatever. There's different reasons to have a different business type. And if you can, you know, utilize your RV for business purposes, there's going to be more write-offs for that. Like I said, if you're a part-time RVer and, you know, you have a home and your RV, you could better classify it then as a business vehicle, especially if you're, you know, maybe you have rental properties in different areas. If you're using that RV to travel to rental properties, if you're, you know, a crafter, you sell stuff and you're, you know, using the RV to go around to different craft shows. You can also contract with, you know, maybe you want to be managers at an RV park. You could, depending upon the RV park itself, contract with that RV park to be the managers or to build something on their property or photograph and create a new branding package for them, whatever. Find these contracting opportunities and work as an independent contractor with these entities. Then you have a little more leeway in writing off the expense of your the cost of your RV as an expense. And then things like, you know, the service, the maintenance, the fuel, etc., can more often be write-offs then as well. So definitely some tax savings there if you do want to operate small business on the road. On our website too, as a member, we have, I think we took it off our dashboard, but if you go into my university courses, and then here in my university courses, we have the Small Biz RVer School, which is something my dad Steve put together a few years ago. And you can go through the different sections that are in here. It's really kind of like a surface level introduction to operating a small business. It's going to talk about, you know, business entity types, creating a business plan. So there's some videos in here from Mark Kohler. Like I said, he's just so great at sharing the information in a way that doesn't just make you like, you know, I mean, that's how it gets sometimes when I'm trying to understand stuff from my accountant. I'm just like, oh God. So anyway, so Mark kind of puts it in a more fun, energetic kind of presentation. Anyway, so you can go through the Small Biz RVer section here at workamper.com. That's available to you as well. There's multiple different sections here. I just kind of clicked through a couple. So that's another resource available to you. But yes, so back to if you're a full-time RVer, wanting to use your RV, if you do have a business entity, you know, you're going to be able to have a few more write-offs than if you're just, you know, if you're just a work camper working like as a volunteer or W-2 employee, you're really, you know, not going to have a lot of write-offs or business expenses with your RV because you're not operating a business. Where if you do have a business entity and you are running that business, making some income, et cetera, that's going to allow you to have some more write-offs, even if it's just mileage, writing off mileage. So, all right, talk with a good accountant to help you with that further. Okay, how to establish a home base or domicile. And there is a difference here. So home base is like you still have a physical residence somewhere, whether like a house, apartment, condo, maybe you have a piece of property and you put an RV site on it and you just live there in your RV. Like that's your home base. It's a physical place that you still go to from time to time. Now, a domicile is if you are a full-time RVer and you don't have one of those physical places that you go. You still need to have a place that you say is your residence. So with a domicile, there's multiple different ways that you can go about doing this. Some folks will utilize a family member's home. So like for a while, Luke and myself, we used my parents' house as our domicile address. They got some of our mail, not all of our mail, but some of our mail, and like we'd use that, you know, we were registered to vote in their county and et cetera, et cetera. So maybe use a kid or a family member or a friend, whatever, as long as they're okay with it. Make sure to ask them first. There are also many mail forwarding services out there, and you will more frequently find those in the states that don't have state income tax. That's a popular thing for typically retired folks who are maybe just earning like Social Security or whatever. It makes it pensions and stuff, like there's less taxes on that kind of fun stuff in these no state income tax states. Oftentimes in these no state income tax states, there's no state income tax, but the cost of other stuff is often higher because the government's got to balance that out somewhere. So it may be crazy, like when we were Washington State residents, we didn't have state income tax, but registering our fifth wheel and our truck and our car and our motorcycles was a pretty penny every year. So anyway, it's going to vary. So when considering a state for your domicile, you want to research those kinds of things. What does registration of vehicles cost there? Do I have to go in person to renew my driver's license registration or renew my vehicle registration, or can I do that kind of stuff online? States have different requirements to consider yourself a resident of that state. And so when you do pick the state, sometimes you can use a mail forwarding service. Like I said, they'll help you with getting all of that established. So the mail forwarding service will give you an address that you use as your address. They'll also receive your mail. And a lot of these services now have scanning capabilities. So they'll scan the mail that comes in and you can say trash or keep, or they'll just collect all your mail and send it to you wherever you are, whenever you want it. But they'll also help you with, getting your driver's licenses, getting registered to vote. Those are obviously some important things. Registering your vehicle, all of those items work towards helping show that you are a resident of that state. So those forwarding services are usually a really good help for that. So I would work with them. If you want to establish a home base, that is, going to the state that you want to have as your home base and finding property and renting it or buying it. Okay. Let's see, just checking my notes to make sure I covered all the things. Yeah, okay, awesome. All right, okay, those were all the questions submitted ahead of time. We did it, and I don't know what time it is. Oh, it's 12:20. All right, we've talked a lot. Sorry, guys. Sorry I ran so long, but hopefully this has been really helpful. We are never short on information, and like I said, it is our passion to help you guys. That's what we're here for. All right, I'm going to go through. We have had some questions submitted by those of you who were live with us. Certainly appreciate your activity and response. All right, so here's a question that came in. Can you please speak to good internet connectivity options when not in a park? Thanks. And even when in a park, it can be kind of iffy, I would say. It's getting better though. I would say RV parks are, many of them are understanding their clientele a little bit and installing better internet systems in their parks. But if you are someone who is doing a job on the road that is, I sit at my computer and I need the internet to do my job, I wouldn't rely on RV park campground Wi-Fi as your sole source for internet connection, as you never know when that's going to go down or be bogged down by other users, or if it's going to be fast enough to do what you need to do, etc. So you definitely want to have your own source for that. All right, let's hop over to our trusty dusty internet browser, and we're going to look at rvmobileinternet.com. rvmobileinternet.com. This is going to be the best resource for you to help you determine what internet connection service is going to be best. It might be, you know, Starlink is out now with the satellite thing. A lot of our viewers are liking that. You might do a cellular data plan. You might want to get some kind of booster or something or other. So I would definitely hop over to this website. There's lots of good information available for free. You could also become a member of their site to get even more information. So definitely, you know, this couple, they've lived in a van and a motorhome and a boat and have been all over the place, and they test all the things. They get all the gadgets and all the data plans and all the services, and then they test them all out themselves. So they are a really good resource for this. So definitely, you know, dig into this website. My husband and I personally, we've always had good luck with, we just operate off our cell phones, use our data plans, and make our phone a personal hotspot. We just use the cellular data that comes with our cellular plan. That's been okay so far. There was maybe, so we did Alaska and did 3 months or so going through Canada, Alaska, and back down. And I think there was maybe 2 or 3 days where we didn't have cell connection to internet. So we had to go like a business to get connected to the internet. And there was, I remember one time in Colorado, this county park I picked was around this mountain, and that mountain just killed the internet service, and we didn't even have cell service there. So there's going to be a few places here or there that even cell service is knocked out, but it's much less than it used to be. So definitely check out this website to learn about what kind of all the different options are. But a lot of our viewers usually just utilize their cell data. All right. Here's a question that came in back when we were talking about our resume builder tool at workamper.com for members. So this gal says, is the cell use section an appropriate place to highlight prior job experiences, like in my career before work camping? Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So in the cell U, we kind of have this sample here. So we recommend doing an objective, like what you're looking for with work camping. Give a little summary. And this is something too, if you're a couple or 2-person team and you guys are both going to be applying to the same employer, you can have one resume with both of your info on the same resume. So this sample resume is an example of that. If there's 2 of you, but only one of you are going to be applying to that employer because maybe your travel partner has another job or doesn't want to work or whatever, then fill out the resume as a solo and just put your information, but include a sentence somewhere that says, hey, I travel with another human and that human's going to be with me, okay, to make sure that they're aware of that. Okay, so a little summary, years of experience and what I did before, background, and then some skills, and then maybe like in the remarks section, you know, you could put a couple hobbies, or that's where you would say, you know, I'm traveling with my family. I've got 3 kids. So they're going to be with me too. I have 7 dogs, whatever, that can go in there as well. You just want to make sure in the sell yourself section to break things up into paragraphs so it's easier to read. Try to do some bulleted lists. Again, just making things easier to read for that employer who's perusing your resume. So yeah, absolutely, you can include that in the sell you section. You can go ahead in the job history. You could put entries of jobs. I know we say put in your previous Workamper experiences, but we kind of just did that because we didn't want people to come in here and list like every single job they've had since they were 14. You know, like employers don't need to know all of that. Think about what those jobs were. Like when I was 14, I worked the games department at an amusement park. So, you know, that gave me some customer service experience, money handling. It was a physical job. I was on my feet. So, you know, I would consider that position, but I would just pull those skills out and have those listed as skills in my skills list versus me entering it as part of my job history, if that, hopefully that makes sense. Okay, all right. Other questions coming in here? All right, I'm gonna pop, well, I'll just stay in the browser because could be one of you guys' questions, can't, well, anyway, okay. Next question says, if I have a work camping job in an RV park in Arizona, if there is a fee for the RV spot, is it the same as other RVers? Okay, so I think this person is asking if he's paying for an RV site, is that cost going to be the same as the other RVers that are camping in that location? Possibly. It's going to depend. So, you know, like my example with Yellowstone is working for the concessionaire, you know, the Workamper was maybe paying 30 to 70 bucks a week for an RV site, where as a guest camper in the Yellowstone vicinity at a commercial RV park outside the park as a guest camper, you're going to pay like 50 to 100 and some dollars a night. So in that aspect, no. But like if you're going to go, so Cal-Am Resorts is in Arizona. They hire a lot of work campers because they have big resorts down there. And the work campers there, you're a W-2 employee and they're paying you for every hour worked, but then you pay for your RV site fees. And the RV site fees, I believe, are the same as the camping guests that are there as well, or the residents that are there in the park. So it's going to depend. It might be discounted, it might be the same. And that also comes back to when we talked about, you know, doing the math. If you are being provided an RV site and perks, you need to do your best to figure out what the value of those items are. So that way you can do the math on what your wage is. And, you know, sometimes the trade out is not going to be great. It may not be one that you're acceptable to, and that's fine. Then you just move on and try to find another opportunity. But you definitely want to, you know, do the math and make sure the employer is providing you a fair deal. Some employers may try to take advantage of work campers, thinking that, you know, they won't do the math, they won't figure it out, whatever. You know, there are some pickles out there on both sides. It's just people. It's just people. Alrighty, let's see. Okay, let's see. Work camper here. My wife and I are brand new and want someone to give us a chance. What do we do to get hired? Charles, if you are joining us late, definitely check out the recording of this webinar when it comes to you via email later today. At the beginning, we went through, you know, how to find a work camper job, kind of, you know, looked through some job listings pages and the resume builder, etc. You just need to go in and start digging in and go through the advice listed there. Also, we have in the media library at workamper.com and on our YouTube channel, Workamper News YouTube channel, the 12 steps to finding a work camping job. I'd recommend watching that video as well. So you just need to get your resume together and start making contacts. All right, very good. Looks like we got everybody's questions answered who was online with us. Sorry about the run time today, but there's a lot to talk about. And so hopefully we got your questions answered, and hopefully you guys will all go on to become members of workamper.com. Again, we're the only professional entity in the work camping realm. So we have a phone number to call and talk to us. You can email us and ask us questions. Our website is custom built. Our tools are geared to help you guys. And it's not filled with a bunch of other tracker, banner, whatever stuff that takes you into weird depths of the internet. So very custom, clean website full of good tools for you to utilize to help you be successful at this awesome work camping lifestyle. So if other questions come up in the meantime, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help. And we wish you guys happy research and happy work camping once you do embark on this great lifestyle. So, all right, thanks everyone and have a great day.